Hi, Philip. FP&A as a connector across the enterprise. You're welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Larissa. Yeah, building off of what you were just mentioning, and really the purpose for today to dive into really, what is FP&A? Over the last few years, we certainly have seen a lot of trends emerging, and I want to talk about a few of those from an EY perspective. So it'd be great to dive into those next topics. So if we think about some of the upcoming elements on the next slide, it'd be helpful to kind of level set what we see in terms of the overall market from an EY perspective. Helping many industries, many types of clients, large and small, depending upon the types of solutions that are being sought. They're all having a lot of common themes. And if we think about Agile FP&A, some of the themes that Larissa just mentioned and some of the other ones out in the market, it's really about delivering value as fast as possible, whereas there may have been very traditional waterfall type engagements. One of the appetites that is certainly one of the current themes is being able to provide value as soon as possible, but also making sure that you are having a connected strategy. So we think about different parts of your organization. You may have certain dependencies, for example, source systems, change management, different types of adaptability. That doesn't mean you shouldn't start a program. So pivoting from large, complex, multi-year transformations to delivering value as fast as possible. But as you deliver that value, make sure you have a connected strategy. And that's really where we've been able to help particular clients, as well as the use case we'll talk about here with Junaid at Applied Materials next, is to say, what is those capabilities that don't exist today that we know we can go and target quickly in order to be able to have that continuous improvement mindset. If we think about really what the focus of Agile FP&A themes are lately, is being able to have that key business modeling scenarios. It makes no value to be able to take 4 or 5 days, possibly a week, to produce long, complex outputs. Being able to do rapid scenario analysis is only going to improve, Agile FP&A capabilities within companies. But also really, the last point here is being able to adapt. Just because you're starting out with a couple of use cases to deliver that value as soon as possible doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to pivot along the way. Certain dependencies may come up, certain improvement opportunities may find themselves as a key enabler, and always having that continuous improvement buy-in from a leadership team, which we'll talk about from an Applied Materials perspective today as well, is absolutely critical in order to have that Agile FP&A approach. And being able to pivot halfway through a program, there may be some additional value that can be delivered, and it may require a couple of pivoting moves, but don't be afraid to do that. You don't necessarily have to follow that very rigid historical transformation programs, of the past. So those are kind of the key themes, at a higher level. Dive into a little bit more detail on the next slide. We'll talk about some of the other critical dependencies if we think about what is the role of FP&A. One of the things that is constant is the value that is derived from analysis and insights. And if we think about how organizations should structure themselves to deliver those insights and those critical business decisions as fast as possible, you have to start with the process. So technology is wonderful, technology is great. We leverage technology in almost all Agile FP&A programs, but without having that underlying process, it's very easy to take a very complicated and almost bad process, put it into a nice new technology stack, and then 6 months down the road, you're wondering, where did all my value go once that initial improvement of pure efficiency, is almost realized. So, that is really one of the critical elements to make sure is when you're starting some of these FP&A programs is don't be afraid to really take a look at the process up front. It may seem like a bit of a waste of time, but in fact, it'll pay absolute dividends once you get to the actual technology implementation phase. And then ultimately, the main focus of why you would even do an Agile finance program, which is around the outputs, being able to deliver that value, having those insights and analytics being at the tips of your analyst fingers, not having to wait, days and weeks for churn, and being able to produce all of those forecasts. So an integrated tool is great. Start with your process. That's something that from an EY perspective, we definitely start with, and we certainly did from the use case that we'll talk about here from Applied Materials perspective. And then lastly, making sure that you are designing your organization to support being agile. It's not just, a one and done kind of situation. It is that continuous improvement mindset, having the leadership buy-in and making sure that you're structuring yourself from a change management perspective, from a training perspective, and being able to produce those continuous improvements. If something isn't working from a model perspective, making sure you have the right support structure to quickly make changes and provide that value. That way, ultimately, the end goal is to have that better insights, that better scenario modeling capability, and really the better outputs to drive business decisions. So in terms of these journeys and the common FP&A themes that from an EY perspective, we're seeing in the market and really driving value with our clients, it gets back to that simple framework of making sure we start with the process, we leverage technology, and then providing that continuous improvement mindset for those outputs for analytics and decision-making capabilities.